The planet Lyrian was silent, too silent. Shadows moved across the twin moons, and under the soft pink skies, the royal palace glowed like a forgotten dream. Inside, the princess of Lyrian lay still on her golden bed. Her name was Varela. Her legs had not moved since the last war. Her wings, once beautiful and full, had been ripped by laser fire. Her body half-healed. Her spirit never whole again. Outside her chambers, the world was changing. It began with a sound. A deep, shaking hum. Then a crack in the sky. Earth's ships, thousands of them. The humans were not invading, at least not yet. They had come for alliance talks. But Varela's people, the Yalari, feared humans. Humans were fast, wild, unpredictable, and above all they mated with emotion, not duty. The Yalari mated for strength, power, bloodline. Varela, though royal, was now imperfect. No suitor came, not one. They bowed. They gave polite gifts. But they never stayed long enough to see the sadness behind her glowing purple eyes, until one did. His name was Callum. A low-ranking Earth soldier, not a diplomat, not even invited. He had wandered into the wrong hall. The guards almost threw him out until Varela said, in a soft voice, "Let him speak." That was how it started. But before that moment could arrive, war came again. The Talgreks, enemies of both Earth and Lyrian, struck the eastern cities with firestorms. Screams echoed through the stone halls. Varela watched the skies darken from her high window. She wanted to help, to fight. But her legs didn't move. Her wings couldn't open. She was trapped in a golden room with no war to win and no love to give. The council argued, "The humans must leave. They're spying. They'll abandon us when the fire reaches our walls." But Varela disagreed. "They stayed," she whispered. "They didn't run, and one of them ... looked at me like I wasn't broken." The elders scoffed. "You are a symbol, not a partner." Varela turned her head. For a moment, her golden crown slipped sideways. "Then maybe your symbols are useless." That night, the firestorms reached the royal city. The sky lit up in red. Panic filled the air. Citizens fled. And in the chaos, Callum returned. He had no armor, no fancy translator. Just his own words and a heart full of something Varela had never seen before. Honesty. He found her sitting in her crystal throne, alone. "You stayed," she said. He nodded. "You looked lonely. You think I need saving?" "No," Callum said softly. "I think I need saving." And in that moment, brief, tender, almost missed by the stars themselves, something shifted in her heart. But before she could speak, an explosion tore through the side wall. Guards screamed, rocks fell, and the room filled with dust and danger. Callum threw himself over her without thinking. His body shielded her as the roof collapsed in sparks and fire. His hands trembled, but he didn't run. Outside, the war had begun, but inside, something else was starting too. Not fear, not duty. Something warmer. Something impossible. The smoke had barely cleared when the heavy doors burst open again. General Vark. Tall, cold, dressed in armor made of obsidian stone and shining thorns, he marched in like death itself. His glowing red eyes locked onto Callum, who was still shielding. The princess on the floor. The silence that followed was deadly. "Remove yourself," Vark growled, his voice like stone scraping metal. Callum didn't move. Varela spoke softly. "He saved me." "I see that," Vark replied. "But you are not allowed to be touched by outsiders. You are royal. He is ... dirt." Callum stood now, brushing off the ash. He stared at the general without fear. "I didn't see rank. I saw a person." Vark stepped forward, hand on the handle of his ancient blade. "And what does a human soldier see in a wingless, crippled alien girl?" The insult struck deep. Varela looked away. But Callum didn't flinch. "I see someone worth fighting for," he said. That moment changed everything. The guards were stunned. Vark hesitated, but then narrowed his eyes. "Take him to the prison chamber. Let him learn respect." Varella's voice cut through the air like a knife. "If he goes, I go too." Everyone froze, even Vark. "You would defy us for him?" The general said, rage barely hidden. Varella sat straighter on her golden throne, even though her legs didn't move. "I've obeyed your rules since the day I lost my wings. I've worn your crowns. I've smiled at your suitors. I've stayed quiet while you shamed me." Her voice grew stronger. "But not today." Then she looked at Callum. "I owe him nothing. But I want to choose." That word choose was poison to the Ilari elders. Royal bonds were arranged, negotiated, written in blood. Choosing was chaos. Love was weakness. And no one had ever chosen someone from another species, especially not a soldier from Earth. Still, the princess had spoken, and the fire outside only grew louder. They locked Callum in a crystal chamber under the palace. Varella was forbidden from seeing him. But walls couldn't stop thoughts. Or dreams. And that night, when the stars blinked and the city cried, Varella left her bed for the first time in months. She used her arms to drag herself to a secret elevator, hidden behind the royal painting of her grandmother. The elevator hummed down, slow and quiet. Her arms ached. Her knees bled, but she smiled. She reached the cell. And there he was. Callum stood up the moment he saw her. "What are you doing here?" he whispered. "I couldn't sleep." "Because of the war?" She shook her head. "Because I never got to ask you the question," Callum frowned. "What question?" Her fingers touched the glass between them. "Why me? Why not run? I'm not whole. I'm not like the others." He stepped closer, and for a long time he said nothing. Then, with a voice quieter than the stars outside, he said, "Because when I looked at you, I didn't see weakness. I saw fire. I saw pain that didn't break. I saw a queen, not a prisoner." The glass shimmered between them. And Varella whispered, "Would you still choose me?" Yes. The answer didn't shake the palace. It shook the sky. The sound of boots echoed through the crystal hallway. They were coming closer. Each step was louder than the last metal scraping against polished stone. Outside the glass prison, Varella's breath quickened. She looked at Callum, her eyes wide. With fear, not for herself, but for him. "They'll kill you," she whispered. "You're not protected anymore." Callum didn't blink. "Then I'll die beside you." But Varella shook her head. "No, I've already been in a cage. You don't belong in one." Without warning, she slammed her bracelet against the control panel near the wall. Sparks flew. The crystal bars glitched. A red warning flashed then. The barrier collapsed. Callum stepped out. But there was no time for thanks. From around the corner, a tall Talgrek soldier appeared, face masked, eyes burning green. In one hand, he carried a blaster. In the other, a blade longer than his arm. He saw them both. He raised his weapon, and before he could fire, boom, Callum rushed him with all his strength. The two collided. The blaster flew across the hall. Callum slammed the alien against the wall, but the Talgrek fought back hard. His claws scraped Callum's arm, drawing blood. But the human didn't stop. He grabbed the blade, turned it, and drove it into the enemy's side. The soldier collapsed, gurgling. Callum stumbled back, breathing heavy. Varella stared. She had never seen a human fight for her, not like this. Not with blood on his hands and no reward in sight. "Are you okay?" she asked, voice shaking. "I'm not sure," Callum said. "But we're not safe here." He bent down beside her, lifting her gently. She tensed. "No one touches me," she whispered. "I'm not no one," he said with a soft smile. "I'm the fool who said yes." He carried her through the dark corridors, avoiding guards, hiding behind broken statues and fallen columns. The war outside had reached the heart of the palace. Smoke drifted through the air. Screams echoed. From above, distant explosions shook the floor. Still, he didn't stop. She guided him. Turn left. There's an old healing chamber. No one uses it anymore. They reached the chamber round, glowing with soft blue lights. The walls were lined with floating orbs. It smelled of herbs and dust. Varela pointed at a console. There's a path beneath this. A tunnel. It leads to the Starside Forest. Callum nodded, placing her gently on the ground. He wiped the blood from his hand and pressed the console. The floor opened. A staircase appeared, dark and winding dot. Before they stepped in, she touched his wrist. Why do you trust me? She asked. Callum paused. Because I've been around liars. You're not one of them. She smiled, just a little. And if I fall behind, I'll carry you again. And if I betray you? He looked into her glowing purple eyes. Then, let me be the last one who believed. They moved down the stairs slowly. Cold air surrounded them. Old carvings lined the walls, images of winged queens and glowing swords. Varela reached out and touched them. My mother once told me, she said softly, that the one who sees your scars and still stays, that's the one you never let go. Callum looked back. Do you believe that? I didn't. And now, she paused. Now I want to. They reached the forest's edge. Above, the sky burned. But in the woods, it was quiet. Just glowing trees, soft lights, and the sound of wind brushing leaves. Callum knelt down beside a rock. Setting her down carefully, he took a deep breath. I can leave, he said. You're safe now. I can return to my people. But her voice stopped him. Don't. Why? She looked up at him and said words that no one, not one, had ever said before on her planet. Will you stay with me? The stars above the forest pulsed like old wounds. Callum and Varela sat near a glowing tree, wrapped in silence. For the first time in days, there was no fire, no orders, no screaming alarms. Just them, and the question hanging in the air like a soft whisper. Neither dared to speak again. Will you stay? He had said yes, but the world didn't care. The forest had eyes dot in the shadows. Just beyond their firelight, someone moved silently between the trees. No armor, no blaster. Just dark clothes, a long curved blade, and a heart that had long forgotten. Loyalty. His name was Saren. He had once trained beside Varela. He had once sworn to protect her. And now, he was hunting her, back at the palace. The council had made a decision. The princess has bonded with an outsider, the High Speaker had said. She no longer carries the bloodline. She has shamed the crest. The sentence was clear. She must be taken or ended. And Saren had volunteered, but not because he hated her, because deep down, he had loved her. And her love was now given to a human. Varela lay against the soft moss, looking at Callum with quiet curiosity. Your eyes are always searching, even when you're still. He smiled. Old soldier habit. You learn to expect betrayal. She lowered her gaze. Then why trust me? Because you already had 100 chances to give me away, he said, and you didn't. She smiled slightly, but it faded. Fast. A branch cracked. Callum turned sharply. Too late. Saren stepped into the clearing, blade in hand, face calm and cold. Hello, princess. Varela froze. Saren. I came to bring you home, he said. But I see home doesn't mean the same thing to you anymore. Callum stood. No weapon. Just his body between her and the blade. Don't do this, Varela pleaded. I have to, Saren said. Not because of the law, but because I can't watch you choose someone who doesn't belong. I do belong, Callum said, eyes locked on him, because she chose. Saren's grip tightened on his blade. You think love is enough? He spat. She's a royal, you're a soldier, she's broken. And you you're desperate. Callum took a step forward. I don't need to prove anything to you. No, Saren growled, but I'll make sure she sees what happens when. You choose wrong. The fight was brutal. Saren rushed forward, blade swinging with expert speed. Callum dodged the first strike, but not the second. The blade sliced his arm. Blood spilled. He fell back, gritting his teeth. Varela screamed, Saren! Raised the weapon again. But Callum rolled, grabbed a branch from the ground, and blocked the next hit. Wood cracked. Pain surged. Still he stood. I don't have your skills, Callum said. But I have her. He punched Saren in the chest, knocking him back. The blade dropped. They both lunged for it. Varela dragged herself forward, ignoring the pain in her legs. Her hand reached out, touching the hilt. She threw it to Callum. He caught it. Saren froze. Callum pointed the blade at him, chest heaving. Leave, he said. Now, but Saren didn't move. His eyes shifted to Varela. Is this really your choice? He whispered. You'd give everything for him? She met his gaze, calm, clear. Yes. Something in Saren shattered. He turned without a word, and vanished into the trees. The silence after the fight felt heavy. Callum dropped the blade, blood dripping from his hand. Varela pulled herself closer to him. I'm sorry, she said. You saved me, he replied. They sat there, in the dark forest, together, two broken people, one heart slowly stitching to another. Beneath the soft glow of alien trees, the forest whispered of ancient things. The stars above had shifted, and a cold breeze curled the leaves like a ghost remembering its name. Varela sat in silence, her hands still trembling from the fight. Callum's blood stained her fingers, not because she hurt him, but because she helped save him. She had touched a blade again. Not to destroy, but to protect. For the first time since her wings were taken, she didn't feel useless. Callum sat beside her, wrapping his arm in a torn piece of cloth. His breath was shallow. The wound wasn't deadly, but it reminded him that even courage had a price. He glanced at her. Her silver hair shimmered in the moonlight, her violet eyes fixed on nothing. Still, she was not gone. She was fighting a war in silence, a war between her broken past and the love beginning to bloom. Like firelight in her chest. Then came the sound, a low pulse from the ground beneath them, a rhythm, like a heart. Callum looked down. Do you hear that? Varela nodded slowly. It's calling. She reached forward, her hand brushing the moss between the roots of the largest tree. The roots glowed faintly, then separated on their own, revealing a stone circle buried under dust and time. Symbols older than any language pulsed across the surface. It was alive, somehow waiting for her. Without speaking, she pressed her palm to the center. The ground shuddered. Branches above swayed. And with a deep breath from the earth, a round platform opened, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness lit by soft blue light. It didn't feel like danger. It felt like memory. Callum hesitated. What is this? Varela didn't answer. She simply moved forward, dragging her body with her arms again, unwilling to let her useless legs stop her from entering this forgotten place. Callum followed without question. The air grew colder as they descended, but not dead. It was the chill of something preserved. Something sacred. At the bottom was a chamber of mirrors, not glass, but crystal panels reflecting not what was outside, but what was within. Callum saw himself younger, laughing in his old home. Varela saw herself dancing. Before the war, her wings spread wide like ribbons of light. She gasped and turned away. The chamber was cruel and kind. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, floating above the ground, encased in soft golden light. Resting on it was a cube, simple, quiet, but powerful. Varela's voice was barely above a whisper. It's real. What is it? Callum asked gently. My mother told stories about it. An old gift passed to royal daughters who were truly chosen. not just by blood, but by pain. The cube began to float toward her. Callum instinctively stepped in front of her. Is it safe? She smiled for the first time without pain. It's not meant to be safe, it's meant to be mine. The cube stopped just above her palms. And slowly, like it had waited centuries for this moment, it unfolded into thin strands of light, wrapping around her chest, shoulders, legs. Her body lifted off the ground. Her scars glowed. Her ruined spine shimmered. Callum stepped back, eyes wide. Varela? She floated gently, suspended, wrapped in the technology of her ancestors. A single tear slipped from her eye, not from pain, but from something deeper. For the first time since the war, she felt ... and then she dropped. He caught her. Her legs moved. She stood, trembling, shaky, but she stood. Callum looked at her in awe. You ... She nodded slowly, her voice breaking. I can walk. But before either of them could speak further, a voice echoed through the chamber. You weren't supposed to find it. From the shadowed hallway came a figure, neither Talgrek, nor human, nor Yalari. Skin like stone, eyes like mercury. A being of old knowledge and broken promises. Its voice sounded like wind scraping bone. That device is forbidden, it said. Its power unbalances blood and time. Varela stepped forward, unafraid. Then let it be unbalanced. One choose my own path now. The creature didn't smile, but its face cracked. Then you have broken the first law. Now we all suffer. Darkness wrapped around them like wet cloth, heavy, choking, unkind. The moment the lights vanished from the chamber, all that remained was breath. Varela's hand gripped Callum's like a lifeline. Her legs, newly awakened by ancient power, shook beneath her, not from pain but from a sudden question that had no answer. Had she brought doom by claiming hope? Callum spoke first, his voice steady in the suffocating black. We can't stay here. Whatever that thing is, it wants to end this story. She nodded, though he couldn't see her. She felt the truth deep in her bones. The chamber was collapsing. The weight of old laws, dead kings, and forbidden love was crashing around them. But for the first time, her body didn't feel like a Phylica cage. It felt like a key. A soft glow flickered from her hands. Not the light from the chamber. Not the ancient machine. Her. The bond was inside her now, living, breathing. She could feel it humming in her chest like a second heartbeat. One step forward, then another. Her stride was clumsy, but real. Callum let go of her hand, only to reach again, not to lead, but to walk beside her. That was how they found the last path, hidden under layers of memory and silence. A passage cracked open, lit by threads of gold that pulsed only in Varela's presence. The walls here didn't whisper, they sang. Not with words, but with echoes of every woman who had ever dared to choose. This place was not meant to be found. It waited for those who made their own endings. At the far end stood a throne. Old, broken, still burning with power. Not for royalty, for decision, and sitting beside it, watching them with tired eyes, was the ancient being from before. Its body shimmered like stone set aflame. But it didn't move. Not to fight, not to flee, it simply spoke. You stand at the place where fate dies. You can leave now and take your healing. You can return to your world and forget this realm. Or it leaned forward, voice hollow and final. You can make the choice that changes every future. You can declare your bond. Callum looked at Varela. What does that mean? She swallowed hard. Her voice barely above a whisper. A royal bond made from love, not arrangement. It would rewrite the law for all time. But to do that, we must speak the vow together. And what happens after? Varela's eyes filled with light and tears. Then the past will fight us. Callum didn't need time. He didn't need more questions. He turned to face her fully. placed both hands on hers, and nodded once, then let it fight. They stepped forward together and spoke, word by word, not in the ancient tongue but in the language of honesty. "I see your scars," Varela said, voice trembling, "and I do not run." "I see your silence," Callum whispered, "and I do not fear it." "I see your broken past," she continued, "and I do not pity it." "I see your choice," he finished, "and I choose it too." The moment the last word fell from their lips, the chamber exploded with light. Not fire, not heat. Hope. Walls rebuilt themselves in a flash of blinding gold. The air cracked open like a song, runes shifted. Chains lifted from invisible bones. Somewhere far away, the royal code shattered. On palace walls, statues fell. On scrolls of law, ancient text burned into dust. And in the center of it all, Varela and Callum stood not broken, not bound. Hold. Later, when the world calmed and the sun touched the sky again, the war ended quietly. The Talgrex vanished. No longer drawn to weakness, the Yalari council was dissolved. And a new royal court began, not of blood, of bond. Callum never took a crown. He didn't need one. Varela walked beside him, no longer carried, no longer waiting to be chosen. She had chosen. The people watched with wide eyes as the once disabled princess stood tall beside the human she was never supposed to love. And from the forest where their story began, a tree bloomed that had never bloomed before, its leaves glowing violet and gold. Some say it sings only to those who know how to see what others call broken, and stay anyway.